And this is the biggest mistake. This is the biggest mistake that anti-capitalists of I'm just gonna call them in a very broad anti-capitalists. This is their biggest mistake. The mistake of the Marxists of the Western countries is to use the symbols of the long dead failed state, that is the Soviet Union. I mean, and and hope, and they truly, I mean, many of them truly believe, sincerely believe that this is helping them, and that this will bring them, that will help to bring them socialism or even communism. But I absolutely think this is delusional, naive thinking, and it shows the catastrophic, absolutely catastrophic lack of preparation, theoretical preparation, understanding of dialectical materialism, understanding of the Hegelian logic, which plays very extremely important role in understanding why Bolsheviks have won, why they succeeded, and why all of these people in the West, they for many decades they remain pretty much irrelevant, pretty much absolutely irrelevant. There's objective reasons why the Western left, Western anti-capitalists remain worthless, and there is a subjective, that is the reasons that due to the related to the incompetence, lack of intelligence, maybe talent, maybe just preparation in general in the in understanding the theory of dialectical materialism. And of course, I think there is a huge misunderstanding of the how revolution worked in Soviet Russia in October, and understanding that the reason that succeeded is the methodology. That the methodology that was used by the Lenin, by the Bolsheviks, that made it possible for them to win. And this is what's most important, the methodology. Understanding why these people were using not the communist, not the socialist slogans for a very long period of time, and switch them quite late during the revolution, uh, and misunderstanding why the same symbolics, the same slogans in the countries of the West are not applicable. They are they are bringing so much background, so much negative background that you just gonna waste your time. You're just gonna waste your time, and this is also kind of one of the reason why it failed in Ukraine. The socialist movement in Ukraine. I mean, real socialist movement, not the pseudo uh, a social democratic, like left centrist, but the real Marxist movement failed in Ukraine. That was the reason as well, because they stuck to the to the old symbols, to the old slogans, to the old uh, already useless words, and they truly thought that is helping them, just like people in the West think that the more radical left they will go, they think that the more they uh, show theirs radicalism, like they put a word revolutionary communists in front of the word communist, revolutionaries, like ultra mega revolutionaries, like this is just laughable, just a laughing stock. Come on, I mean, the the party becomes a a serious and strong and relevant organization, not because of its name, how you call it. I mean, that like goes without saying. Like there's the obvious kind of things I'm pronouncing here, but still, it's to me, it is obvious that the Western anti-capitalists, they think that the symbols, all the symbols of the past, they they stand at the trial of time, and that they are more important than the substance. Then they don't care so much about the substance behind the symbolics, hammer and sickles, communism, socialism, and they for them it is this ultra radicalism, ultra revolutionism is a kind of more important than the actual substance, that the meaning and value behind the symbols in this specific space and time, in these specific conditions, cultural, historical conditions. And it just seemed to me kind of bizarre that some, let's say, American people that like idea of communism, and yet they decide to take the symbols of the Soviet Union and the symbolics of Soviet Union, and to think that under these banners, under these slogans, they will be able to defeat the American bourgeoisie, and just I think it's laughable. It's just so laughable. Instead of creating your own based on your own history, like definite, unique to the American, the grounded in American history, not the Soviet Union history. I mean, you can take. No one is forbidding you to take everything good, all the experience from the Soviet Union or Cuba or whatever. But you have to build your own symbols, build your own slogans and the words of anti-capitalism based on your own history, something that is close to the majority of Americans. Okay, I don't know. You can even look at these most popular people like Martin Luther King, the Malcolm X. Even before them, I mean, during the, I'm not talking about just in the early 20th century, the communist and social movement and its leaders. I'm talking about the more earlier period before the October Revolution. There was a plenty socialists in America. Yes, they were utopians. They belonged to the utopian socialist category. Yes, but yet they were socialists. That still values a lot. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I understand American history, I think during the war, they had their own version. You had your own version of a Paris Commune. I can't remember specifics right now, but I think you have that stuff. So why not build upon that? Why not use that as the symbols of America, of American progressivism, of American socialism, instead of taking the enemy, the Cold War enemy of the American state, and utilize its symbolics, utilize its government flags. I think it's bizarre. I think it's just delusional thinking, absolutely delusional. And and this is a clear, absolutely clear example of utopianism. When I say utopianism, I mean the, like, in scientific sense, utopians who are they, like described by Marx and Engels. right? If you read their books, what is the difference between like utopian socialists and the scientific socialism? When Lenin described the utopians of different types of people who in the wrong place, in the wrong time, uh, they use very wrong, very incorrect, unapplicable slogans, symbolics, tasks, short and long-term, uh, proposals that they bring. They sometimes just not. They're not related to the specific reality around them. They just usually this utopian people, especially it is applicable to the Western anti-capitalists, the Western utopian socialists, and I mean in that as well. I mean these communist people. They all bring the symbols and slogans that are mm, seriously ahead of a time. Okay, they are at least, I think, at least 10, 15, or maybe even 20 years ahead of the time. Okay, this is not the time and place to bring up the word communism and anything related to that. And this is what I mean by utopianism. Okay, you must understand that at this position that you have right now, uh, getting to the majority of population of United States or Britain or the Germany or France or Italy, whatever, it is incorrect to bring up the communism or even really socialism. I don't think it's correct to use words even like socialism. I think something more harmless, but yet uh, very usable, very attractive, something magnetizing. I think can be used at the same time, and yet at the same time you can stay and be relatively radical. Radical left, like really anti-capitalist, okay, but without the communist or socialist slogans. What I mean by that, if you if you know the if you if you study the structure of your societies, I mean the economic structure, like how much percentage of the working class, how much percentage of the small and medium businesses, big business, how much each of these uh, of these groups of people, of these organizations, how much part they take in the overall economy of these countries, right? What role they play, and in terms of the population involved in this or that economic activity, right? Right. This is what I mean. Like, if you really know that structure of your own Western capitalist society, that you must understand that it is very, very seriously infected by the petty bourgeoisie um, type of culture. Let's put it this way. I'm I'm putting I'm putting this in simplistic form, uh, so you would understand what I'm trying to say. You're very petty bourgeoisie, very pro-capitalist countries, extremely pro-capitalist. Even that doesn't mean that these people are like pro-big business, pro-oligarchy. But in America, that is expressed in this delusion called American Dream, for example. What is the American Dream? It is a belief in the in this almost perfect capitalism. The one that you allegedly had some during the post World War II era, until the roughly 80s, roughly. And technically that was true. That was the peak of American capitalism in terms of the in terms of what it got, what it brought to the general population, in terms of the goods versus bads that it brought to the American population. That is like goes without saying. That is like common facts, like that is the common truth, right? And this plays a huge role in American population. This mythology of a good capitalism. And here you are, you communists, you socialists, you come and say that all capitalism is bad, all capitalism. And here comes I, and I come in here and say, okay, what you gonna do with the small and medium businesses? Okay, what you gonna do with the, like, you can call them self-employed type of people, like that have very small businesses. Like, you can say that technically capitalist is someone who who hires one or two people that's already a capitalist. Yes, very small, very petty bourgeoisie. Yes, but technically it's all a capitalism, right? And I'm saying, what you gonna do with all of these people? I mean, you propose like revolution. We take down the capitalism altogether. Say, okay, understand big business, oligarchy, but what you gonna do with the rest of society? What you propose to do with all of the people that are involved in this or that type of businesses, these or that forms of businesses, business enterprises, small, miniature, middle type of businesses? What you gonna do with them? Are you gonna expropriate them? Are you gonna collectivize them against their will? Uh, I don't think this. I don't think this is gonna end well for you. I think this is gonna give you a serious civil war. I think type of scenario. I think this type of will bring you a serious troubles. Even if you start just talking about that. And this is very bad economy. This is a horrific theoretical approach. In my opinion, in my not so humble opinion, uh, you're not gonna have any socialist or communist revolutions in next decade or two. I think of American society, in Western society in general. I think it's unrealistic. It is heavily unrealistic. And you don't really need any socialist or communist revolution. You need to take capitalism brick by brick, okay? Just small piece, or not so small, but just piece by piece, take it down, brick by brick, take the capitalism down. Take capitalism altogether. And what I mean by that, like, if you know the history of the pre October Revolution, like roughly to few years before October Revolution happened, the Lenin and Bolsheviks, they planned and they technically implemented for some time, practiced for some relatively short period of time. They practiced such thing as the democratic revolution, right? and that was kind of a little bit different during certain periods. But first, it was the uh, regular liberal revolution, bourgeoisie revolution, but done not by the bourgeoisie, by the Bolsheviks, and the petty bourgeoisie, a kind of mixture. There was mishmash of the different classes, different types of groups of people. So you know that, right? That was uh, the regular democratic bourgeoisie revolution. Okay. Another thing that Lenin planned after that bourgeoisie revolution happened, and that overthrew the Tsarism, destroyed the monarchy. After that, uh, Lenin and Bolsheviks planned to, especially I'm bringing the Lenin first and most of all, because he mostly theorized and implemented this in practice for a short period of time, but it's very interesting, extremely interesting period of time that many people unfortunately bypass the importance of this and how it is relevant to today's Western world. Very relevant, very important. To take the notes from this Russian Bolshevik period, pre October period. So what they tried, what they said, what they implemented is that basically, I'm just oversimplifying again, just giving a gist. What was tried? They said, okay, we need to take down bourgeoisie right now, right? The big business, big bourgeoisie. And how do we do that? Well, obviously, proletariat is the hegemon, right? The working class is the hegemon. And the reserves, the allies in this revolution are peasantry, right? And and petty bourgeoisie, but not all the petty bourgeoisie. Only that part of the petty bourgeoisie, the village and city, small and medium businessmen, uh, only the part of these people that supported the hegemony of the and alliance of the proletariat themselves, the petty bourgeoisie, that supports the proletariat and the rule of proletariat, right? The village, I'm talking again, I'm talking about, and the village, petty bourgeoisie and city, right? I'm talking about them both. So this is what was the plan, and this is what was partially implemented for a very short period of time. So the and it later failed because of the uprising of general of the or Kornilov, I think I forgot his name. So it failed for other reasons, but that was the idea behind this as he called, the Lenin called, the revolutionary democracy. The revolutionary democracy would consist, the government would consist the rule of the proletariat, of the working class, and the part of the from the petty bourgeoisie that would support the alliance of the working class and the petty bourgeoisie. Okay, so this is a kind of mixture of two classes. You can say the working class and small and medium businesses. Okay, against the rule, against the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, of the big business, of big bourgeoisie, petty bourgeoisie, proletariat versus the big bourgeoisie, big business. Okay, so this is the point. And I think this brings extremely useful experience and lessons to the uh, today's needs of the Western Revolution. And when I say revolution, I mean revolution, meaning changing of the radical change in society, not just social democrats who raise, the taxes on rich people, like salaries uh, and stuff like that. I'm talking about real radical change, and radical change not necessarily means a complete takedown of all capitalism, taking over all the capitalism, small and medium and big ones. No, a radical can be, first step is to gather the broad movement, a very broad alliance between the working class, between the I'm using the working class, that's anyone that is in one form or the other is exploited, not just proletariat that is the in on fabrics in the enterprises, not the traditional definition of the proletariat, but any workers would be blue collar, white collar workers, whatever, self-employed, the so-called precariat, whatever. So I'm just call them all exploited masses of workers. You take this group of people, the layer of class of society, combine them with the alliance with the small and medium businesses, but only those small and medium businesses, and uh, that would support the rule of the working class and themselves and the petty bourgeoisie. Okay, so this is the first. I think this is where the first strike should go. A strike against big business, big bourgeoisie, by the alliance of broadly petty bourgeoisie and the working class. This is the first step of the revolution, and I think it can be done. It can only be done uh, by not communist and not socialist slogans. I think the party, uh, the organization, the political organization, or the leaders that want to make this happen, they shouldn't use the they shouldn't use the radical left symbolics and radical left promises. I think that would be a huge mistake to come up with this stuff right now for them to apply this stuff openly in their societies. If they want to achieve a broad coalition, if they want to have a chance to stand against the private military campaigns, military in general, military industrial complex, which is extremely powerful, against the bankers as the parasitic institutions, right? The big banks, first and most of all. Obviously, all private banks are parasitic, but you need to take a big ones. You need to take over the too big to fail type of banks, and it is extremely hard task, and you cannot do this under socialist slogans because they are too radical. They are too radical in the current place and time, and just they are ahead of the time. You would be ahead of your time. You will be utopian by bringing this up right now. It would be very, very utopian. It would be a serious mistake to use use any of these radical left slogans. I think you should propose, instead of this utopianism, you should proposed something that is, mm, I would say, mixed economy. The variation, the variation, one of the forms of the NEP is the new economic policy. That been practiced during the 20s. But by the Soviets, and the only reason why it was taken down, why it was scraped by the Stalin, because the need to prepare country for war, and that was the main reason. Okay, um, but it brought that gave us extremely important experience, and it experience was later used by the China during the during the Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping is the guy that technically implemented a Chinese NEP, Chinese New Economic Policy, or one of the version. Some people say that, some experts say that China, since since Deng Xiaoping's reforms was not really like homogeneous, in terms of the um, economic model. Like it's not just one new economic policy. Some people say they had like already four new economic policies, four different NEPs, right? Um, and I think it's kind of, I would say, correct. It's not far from the truth, okay. And I know very well the Chinese history and its history of its economic models, and that's not far from the truth. I think it could be correctly said, but in general, the China had until today, even right now, they still have the new economic policy type of model. Okay, not a socialism. Okay, it's socialism. Even that's a weak, extremely weak. Like during the Mao Zedong, the socialism in China ended with the Deng Xiaoping's new economic policy. Okay, and since then there was no socialism in China. Okay, please don't bring me this bullshit that but they have enterprises, big enterprises, controlled by the government, and therefore it is already socialism. I don't need your invented definitions of socialism. Okay, I don't care what you bring up. I don't care. Having a government control over the enterprise is not yet a socialism. Okay, it is very far away from socialism. It helps to build. It seriously helps. It is necessary condition to build socialism, but it's not socialism yet. Okay. Um, so yes, this is the like relatively short gist of the proposals that I think would be correct to the Western left, to the Western anti-capitalist. Propose not the communism, not the socialism. You can have a think tanks, like the type of discussionary clubs where you can where you should talk about communism and socialism. But in terms of like the party, like the political organization that strives, that wants to take the power, want to play any relevant, any significant, serious role in the in the Western politics, they should definitely ditch the radical left symbols, okay, slogans, and so on and so on. Especially the hammer and sickle stuff that is just such a junk, such a idiocy, like the museum type of items, like I think is absolutely laughable. I think the proposal should be to there must be a strict orientation, a strict slogans that would tell people that you are against big business, that you want to take over the big business and make it completely under control of government. And by government, I mean under control of the uh, vast majority of the population. Okay, and at the same time, you must say that you must propose that the government should be also kind of reformed and in a radical way should be subjugated to the whims of the masses, to the population. I would call it Sovietization of the parliament. This is how I call it: a Sovietization of the parliament, bringing the elements of the Soviets. I mean, not the not the Soviets that been practiced by the Soviet Union, by the that was theorized by the Lenin, and stuff like that. They bring these elements of the Soviet system into the Western governments, Sovietize the parliaments. That is when we talk about the government, when we talk about the structures of governance. And in terms of the economic proposals, like I said, they must be very definite, very strict proposals to take over the big sphere of the big enterprise in general. Like big business, big enterprise should be completely under control of the government, of the American people. Similar to what's been done during the Soviets, during the new economic policy in Soviet Union, and and the China of today. That is when the commanding heights, as they called commanding heights of your economy, they are under control of the government, and government in terms of uh, and government in turn is controlled more and more directly controlled by the population. Okay, and and then of course you can say that when you achieve that, when you will have the control over the big business, big enterprise, big fabrics, and this and that. And this is the main threat, because this is the main threat to the society, right? And when you have that control, you can practice, you can experiment with the socialism in this area. First and most of all, the planned economy. Planned economy. I mean, you can experiment with the planning in the field of the big enterprise. Like that obviously goes without saying. That is like the most obvious thing where you should apply the planned economy and socialism is on the big enterprise. Okay, big enterprise should be. I mean, those that exist already, they must be nationalized. They must be taken over, and the sphere of big business should be a prerogative purely of the government. Okay, and the small and medium businesses, along with the other petty bourgeoisie, they will exist for many decades, many decades. They will coexist in this new economic policy model especially it's applied to America, especially it applies to the Western world. This type of people, this type of enterprises, they will, for a very long period of time, they will coexist along with the government of the proletariat and the petty bourgeoisie. This is kind of mixed governance. Okay, I think this is the realistic. I think this is the realistic proposal, but this is, I think something that is proved itself to be uh, very valuable and very uh, very lively model of governance of the society. Like I said, during the Soviet Union in 20s, new economic policy, and today's China is a good example of this model. But you need American new economic policy. Okay, you don't need to copy a a system like of today's China. Today's system of China is a highly rigid, highly authoritarian, very centralized, very centralized. They have a good reason for that, but you don't need this. You don't need that. Okay, you don't require that. You need a different, completely opposite approach. You need to take control over your government, seriously, radically reform it, but not in the dictatorial, authoritarian manner, not in centralized type of government. You don't need Chinese systems. Today's Chinese system, you don't require it. You don't need this. And what type of system, how it will work, I think we'll talk about in the next videos. I think I will, I will, I will dig deeper into what it means to have a new system of governance in the Western societies, and what it means to Sovietize the parliament. How the Sovietized parliament would work realistically. Again, I'm trying to not bring the utopian slogans. I'm trying to not overpromise, like some like utopian socialists. They love to do is they love to bring something that is just is not there. Something that is seriously the society that's not ready for this. Like I said, the Western societies are not ready for socialism, for communism. They are not ready for that stuff. Very not ready. And for the real socialism, for the new mode of production and the mode of interaction and relations. And since I'm an expert on the Soviet Union's economy and in society in general, I can absolutely tell you that when people bring this, say we need the socialist revolution, communist revolution, they don't really know what they're talking about. Okay, they don't need. They have no idea what they're proposing. The extreme hardness, extreme complexity to build socialism has been shown by the Soviet Union, has been shown by the first and most of all Soviet Union, but of course, yeah, Cuba had a socialism. Yes, North Korea has some element of socialism, but Soviet Union is much more important because only they practiced practice socialism in such a vast, extremely vast land, and they had only they had such a huge resources. They had a very big pile of resources to implement things that neither Cuba, neither North Korea could even dream about. And they had the time to experiment. And they experimented a lot. And many of these experimentation failed. And um, and we will talk about the behavioral patterns of the Soviet Union people, the reason why the society eventually degraded so much, that they killed, that they ruined Soviet Union. First and most of all, that they ruined Soviet Union, and now these people kill each other right now. You know, the war between Ukraine and Russia. I mean, and uh, and the reason for that is because building and building socialism and communism turned out to be extremely hard task. Not impossible, but extremely, extremely hard task. And there's been many mistakes made, many mistakes. Not because it's Stalin stupid, Khrushchev stupid, no, not because of that. Because it's just objectively very hard task, okay? And the people who usually propose, if like I listen to them and I realize that they are highly incompetent. They've read Marx, Engels, Lenin, maybe Stalin, maybe Trotsky, and they already think themselves as if they are huge experts on the Soviet Union. That they already know how to build a better future. But this is the huge mistake. This is the huge delusion, and naivety, delusion, and so on. And uh, the more I studied Soviet Union, and this is a real practice. This is the real practice versus the just you know uh, just dreams and hopes and empty theorizing. That is what it is. I mean, if you take books of Marx, Engels, Lenin, uh, this is just a speculations mostly. Mostly, it's all speculations about how social society should work. How could it work? And then there is a reality. Then there is a practice, and it is a two different things. It is a contradictory. Some people who they read the classics, Marx, Engels, Lenin, and then they say, oh, uh, the Soviet Union does not fit the descriptions of the Marx, Engels, and Lenin. Therefore, Soviet Union was not a socialist country because there was many things that were not pretty during Soviet Union, that were not very pleasant. Repressions and so on and so on, lack of democracy and deficits and so on and so on and so on. And some of these people think that the Soviet Union was not socialism because it contradicts the things that written by Marx, Engels and Lenin, and that is a huge mistake. And Soviet Union is the socialism, was the socialist country. It just shows the Soviet Union showed that unlike the empty theorizing and speculations, uh, it is much harder, much more, uh, just infinitely much harder to build absolutely new society. And look, I'm gonna make at least few more videos explaining the reason why Soviet Union failed, and you will understand what I mean. But right now, I'm just gonna say this: I'm not against like people who want to talk about the future, like socialism, communism. I'm not against that. Like, please, by all means. But if you want to do something, if you want to bring that closer, you must mm, befriend with reality. You must be realistic. You must maybe kind of hold your expectations. I'm not saying that don't dream about better future. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that be realistic, be more pragmatic. This will help you. In the long term, it will help you to, and in the short term as well, it will help you to bring this heaven, this paradise called communism closer. But right now, I think I brought the point across. I think uh, to tell you that the utopianism is incorrect, untimely, completely not timely uh, usage of the appliance of these radical left symbolics and slogans in the countries that just don't really require any of that stuff. Don't really need any of that stuff. Right now, it's a time. It's really the time. It's really good time in the Western countries, not for socialist or communist revolution, but for these mixed economy type of revolution, the new economic policy type of revolution. You need to find you find your own, your your own Deng Xiaoping. You know, the one that will, someone who will build you something similar to the China, uh, but now without excluding the centralization and the authoritarian rule. This is what you need right now. You need the compromised approach, the approach of the mixed classes, maybe even classes that, like I said, the kind of antagonistic, because petty bourgeoisie is it's a capitalist, right? It's a small medium capitalist, but they but they can be friends. They can be okay, maybe not friends. Let's say alliance. They can have an alliance. They can struck a deal between the proletariat, between working class, and that will, in the short and middle term, will help to defeat bourgeoisie. Will help to defeat a big bourgeoisie, big business. And that can be done only with the moderate, in the good sense of this word, under the moderate slogans, not the radical left. These symbolics and slogans not gonna gather around, not gonna collect these layers of society around proletariat, around working class. It's not gonna collect this huge mass of population around one goal to take down the big business. Okay, I'm gonna call it what Lenin called it, the revolutionary democracy. Okay, it's not pretty. It's not pretty, but this is the easy way to call it. The revolutionary democracy compromise rule of the petty bourgeoisie and working class, and the new economic policy rule and the Sovietization of the parliament. That's it. That's what I mean by being right here, right now, being in the right place, in the right time, with the correct proposals, with the correct slogans, symbolics. That's it. That's what you need. This is what's gonna help you. And maybe someone like Bernie Sanders, who is kind of, proposing. He's not proposing right now anything radical, but he is trying to gather the broad coalition against the fascist oligarchy, Musk, Trump, and he tries to fight this short-term period fight, and that's a good thing. this will help you in the short term. I'm gonna talk about Bernie Sanders and how can you use him. How can he help you out? And he can be very useful guy. I mean, come on, you you seriously underestimate him. He's a real fighter, and I think he is very useful for the left. I mean, he is a good guy, and he's despite making mistake, he is very very useful for the left for the left cause, for the left goals. You know. Okay, for now I think it's enough. I think I should just stop this overly long rant. So thank you everyone for your time. Bye bye.